Okay, we're going to get ourselves started here. Pay attention. Welcome to the Two-Way Street Coffee House. For those of you who have been here a lot, we are happy to see you here. We're hybrid again this evening because you can either be here live like you are, or we have a camera mounted up top, and you can see a live stream if it's a bad night or whatever. Also, you can tune in tomorrow and see it again if you wanted to. My name is John. I'm one of the directors here, and tonight we have, we have a longtime volunteer who's re-upping, Donna, behind the counter, Jennifer, who's hiding in the back, Tim on the camera, and Joel on the sound. And my name is John. Thank you. There's a couple who's not here tonight who always says, my name is Bob. So I've decided to call her Bob from this point on. So we follow the CDC guidelines about masks that are, well, it looks like it's unanimous, so I won't even go into that. So tonight, we've been in operation for 51 years in this room, except for one time when it flooded. Last week was quite an adventure. We got here and there was no power. And there was no power. And there was no power. And about 7:15, the power came on. We had already sent guys home and said, we're going to cancel. But the performers were here, and we said, well, what the heck, let's just do it. And so we did. So I've been running gun shy all week. What's going to hit us this week? Floods, power. We had, a couple weeks ago, we had a COVID from one of the performers, and they had to cancel. You never know what's going to happen. But tonight, good news. Tonight we have Dave Martin, who's standing in the wings, ready to make his grand appearance. There's a flyer on the table that gives you a bio on Dave, so I don't think you want to hear me talk anymore. So with that, Dave, are you ready? Come on in.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now it occurs to me that if I had personality of a type A, I'd have to walk around looking for things to do all day. Guess I'm a lucky guy. I can sleep in 'cause they think that I'm the type B, and I don't need from dawn to dark to find things to captivate me. I arrive singing and swearing, but never too late to have fun. And I go traveling and sharing peculiar things that I've done. I gotta keep rolling on, and I'll be letting out my soul till I'm dead and gone. I'm a stubborn jewel, and I can charm a crowd, but time alone's where I draw my fuel. And when I light out, I go forth with hope, but I'm too shrewd not to have a little doubt. I fight the private wars just as any of those who've come before. A little rain will fall, so chalk it up to growing worldly wise for the long haul. I arrive singing and swearing, but never too late to have fun. And I go traveling and sharing peculiar things that I've done. I gotta keep rolling on, and I'll be letting out my soul till I'm dead and gone. You don't really know me. I live to be lonesome and free, just to arrive singing and swearing, but never too late to have fun. And I go traveling and sharing peculiar things that I've done. I gotta keep rolling on, and I'll be letting out my soul till I'm dead and gone. I'll be letting out my soul till I'm dead and gone. Whoa. Thank you very much and good evening. Thanks for stepping out on a Friday night, everyone. Glad to see you here. We're just going to jump right in, and we're going to go way back to the beginnings here for this next song that I'm about to play, to the Middle East, in fact, which is where the song will begin, with a group of ancient people who are known as the Mesopotamians, and this is a place called the Fertile Crescent. And it was here that the Tigris and Euphrates rivers flooded on the same schedule every year, and what that meant is that Mesopotamian farmers could harness those floodwaters for the purposes of irrigating their crops. And when they started doing this, crop yields increased dramatically. And this is going to have a domino effect of progress on civilization, because with those increased crop yields, you now have a surplus of grain being produced. And this meant that not everyone had to be a farmer anymore. So people start becoming judges and artisans and shopkeepers and school teachers. And this will lead to the advent of cities. And one day, those Mesopotamian farmers decided to play scientist, and they took some of that surplus grain that they had produced, and they fermented it. You see where this is going. Thereby inventing beer. And they found out that it had an intoxicating effect when consumed. And this, to them, seemed like a far better antidote than the tedium of digging irrigation ditches in the hot sun all day long. So by my lights, civilization begins with a drinking song. Some things never change. As Mesopotamians, they figured a lot of stuff out that really impacts us today. They gave us the first codified set of laws, first organized system of writing, and they even found time to play checkers in the midst of all that. But we're going to stick with beer right now, as well as 5 other drinks that you will all recognize. And this song examines how key historical events coincided with the creation of these 6 overall drinks. This is a song with an unlikely frame, and it's called A History of the World in 6 Glasses. And I hope you enjoy it. And I think the introduction is longer than the song. But I got a real doozy coming up in a few minutes. So here we go. In the Fertile Crescent, 6000 BC, some hard-working farmers dug an irrigation ditch. They got done, wiped their brow, and said it's tough here. So they fermented their grain and drank till they were in a stitch. Now the world had beer. But I'd like to take you on to Southern Europe, there in the Mediterranean. I'll tell you what happened next. The Greeks, they were having a big time. At the symposium they had philosophy and sex. It was all fueled by wine. And ain't it strange to think of all the history that's been shaped by drinks? In the early modern world, Western Europeans took to the sea and brought Africans thousands of miles to cut sugar in the tropical sun. Exchange for copper, bowls and some textiles, slaves made a global drink called rum. While in the Arab world, liquid was put on trial because of how hyper its consumers would get. And King Charles feared this drink would bring on plots. When Java stations came, they were like some early internet. You get news and lied to in coffee shops. And ain't it strange to think of all the history that's been shaped by drinks? Now by the dawn of the 18th century, the Royal Society was drinking tea. In 100 years it'd be enjoyed through the empire by everyone. To meet demand, they'd make it with filler, like sawdust and sheep dung. An American quack named Dr. Pemberton made a soft drink his factories worked toward interchangeable parts. And America led as the world globalized its ways. That's what put Coca-Cola in everyone's hearts. Now it's the world's second most known phrase. It takes a big sip to quench a mean thirst. But won't you give a thought to history first? And ain't it strange to think of all the history that's been shaped by drinks? Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. I'd like to play a song for you now that is about a port town on the East Coast, Wilmington, North Carolina. Kind of an oddball place where just dissidents, drifters, dreamers, and all kinds of oddball types seem to wash up on the shores out there, and including my brother. And so this is a song about that area. This is called Outpost. When those airplane wheels touch down, pick me up, let's take a ride to that derelict beach town. It's been just a little while since I lit out to the territory. Think the distance is good for me and it's someone else's world. Just living in it and taking inventory. now I'm down on the Carolina coast, mixing with drifters, dreamers, and crooks. That's the scene in an outpost, and I'm telling you, life down here is worth a look. All the women I've known are pairing off with losers. Saturday night, I'm still out running strong with hawkers, hookers, and boozers. And there sure are some good-looking women about this place. Good a spot as any to set right down and to start a life with your past erased. And now I'm down on the Carolina coast, mixing with drifters, dreamers, and crooks. That's the scene in an outpost, and I'm telling you, life down here is worth a look. Well, I am a misfit, and so I get along fine with the strays who've gathered up down here to leave the normal walk behind. And I do declare there's many fine cafes, but the thing I really like is knowing it's a great big sundry creation. And down in the outpost, you see many of its types. And now I'm down on the Carolina coast, mixing with drifters, dreamers, and crooks. That's the scene in an outpost, and I'm telling you, life down here is worth a look. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so we've got a little story coming here, and then there's a song, and then there's going to be more of a story, okay? So it starts in about 1910, and Jake Entz, that's E-N-T-Z, and that's German, Jake Entz. He got on a train from his home in Loyalsock, Pennsylvania. This is in Upper Fairfield Township, Lycoming County, if you're wondering. And he got on a train, and he went west. Now, Jake was enticed by word that he had gotten that Waterloo, Iowa, with its agricultural swell, industrial swell that was happening at the time. Now, this is like the beginning of the 20th century when America is at the height of its industrial powers. But Jake had heard that Waterloo was a place burgeoning with opportunity. So he went to Waterloo, Iowa, and Jake Entz found himself a home there. He opened up a cafe near the rail hub, successful enterprising business, and in 1914, when playing a game of chance, he actually won a 400-acre farm. Someone had literally bet the farm, and he was the benefactor in that deal. And so Jake's family still all lived in Pennsylvania at this time, but he would write letters home, kind of telling them what was going on. And it seemed like he was getting along rather nicely. So many of his family members are going to start to be caught by the lure of this place out on the Midwestern prairie, and they're going to get on trains and come west as well. So Jake's brother, Adam Entz, was a diminutive man, little guy, poised and industrious. Adam arrived in Waterloo in 1912, and he opened up a meat market on East 4th Street in downtown Waterloo, Iowa. So you had this kind of neat little symbiotic family business dynamic that was born, because food that was generated on the farm would supply both the cafe and the newly opened market. These were hardworking people who generally thought that drawing attention to oneself was distasteful. And it makes me wonder what they think of the cell phone culture we've created today. In fact, let's have a little exercise in this. Let's try to imagine, okay, the person born in 1890, let's say, it's about when these people were born. You're going to stand here in front of me, and here we are in 2022, but person born in 1890, you're going to stand there, and I'm going to take out of my pocket a phone. Yes, I keep my phone in my pocket. But no, I never use the phone to call anyone. However, I take thousands of pictures on this phone. And so person born in 1890, you're going to stand there, and I'm going to take your picture on my phone. And it has a screen. The photograph of you will appear instantly on this telephone. But not only that, person born in 1890, I'll do you one better. Because with the touch of a button, I can apply a filter that will render your photograph and your features on your face in the likeness of a house cat. That would be the cat face filter on the phone. These people lived through and saw 2 world wars. They ain't never seen nothing like the cat face filter on the phone. Anyway, all I was going to say was that these were hardworking people who generally thought that drawing attention to oneself was distasteful. But one luxury that Adam Entz on occasion indulged in were diamonds. He liked sparkling diamonds. And this is going to get him in trouble someday, because a local common criminal in Waterloo by the name of Del O'Dell walks in to the Entz market, and he sees the proprietor, Adam Entz, wearing a diamond stick pin on his tie. And the local common criminal, Del O'Dell, thinks, I'd like to have that. Cue the minor chord, because you know something's going to happen. So, I'm going to play you the song now, because research tells us if I don't switch mediums pretty soon, I might start losing you. So this song was taken from the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier headline, based on the true events. The title for this song is Owner of the Entz Market Gets Robbed. Here we go. Adam Entz ran a meat market by the rail hub. At his brother Jake's, you could sweep the floors to get some grub. Young men taking on America in the roaring 20s. But the riffraff catches on if you got a little money. Now the owner of the Entz market gets robbed. Del O'Dell did the job. He cleaned out the loot upon breaking in, but he wanted Mr. Entz's diamond stick pin. So the thief cut the lights, and when Adam Entz came home, a blow to the head had waited for him. Going with Miss Meyer, he was Del O'Dell lineman by trade. Lately she been talking about the home they never made. So Del did the deed, he skipped, got busted when he returned to town. And Scott, well, facts were shared, Del was prison bound. Now the owner of the Entz market gets robbed. Del O'Dell did the job. He cleaned out the loot upon breaking in, but he wanted Mr. Entz's diamond stick pin. So the thief cut the lights, and when Adam Entz came home, a blow to the head was waiting for him. Well, life at Fort Madison is not so glamorous. Del appealed for clemency when he was feeling amorous. He returned to Miss Meyer, only to rob her joy. Got sent up again, so you stay away from the bad boys. Now the owner of the Ants Market gets robbed. Del O'Dell did the job. He cleaned out the loot upon breaking in, but he wanted Mr. Entz's diamond stick pin. So the thief cut the lights, and when Adam Entz came home, a blow to the head was waiting for him. A blow to the head was waiting for him. Thank you. Thank you. But there's more. Okay, so to wrap this up, Del O'Dell follows Adam Entz home. You heard what happened in the song. Well, he didn't rob him that night, but what he did is Del O'Dell tracked Adam over the next couple weeks. He learned his habits and routines. He saw when he would come and go. And he went back to Adam Entz's house a couple weeks later when he knew Adam would be gone and working late at the market. Del broke in, took all the valuables he could find out of the house, did not find that diamond stick pin, which is what started this in the first place. That's what he was after, what he wanted. So he thought, Adam Entz must be wearing the diamond stick pin that I want. So now I have to stick around and wait till he comes home. Got to cut the lights so it's dark when he comes in. And I've got to find a length of lead pipe and whack him over the head. And knock him out cold, and then take the stick pin and go off to Minneapolis, which is exactly what happened. Now, to make a long story longer, let me tell you about Minneapolis for 1 minute in the 1920s and part of the 30s. Probably the most corrupt town in America. Crooked sheriff, pay-to-play thing. If you were a criminal, a gangster, anyone in the underworld, you could go up there, you could find a girl, you could find a place to stay, whatever you wanted, as long as you did not commit a crime within the city limits of Minneapolis, you were free to stay as long as you wanted. So this is a place that is teeming with criminals, and yet it's really a very safe place to be and largely crime-free. Gotta love humanity, right? So Del O'Dell goes up there, sells all the wares, runs out of money, returns to Waterloo. He is quickly arrested. He is put on trial, convicted, and sent to the Fort Madison Federal Penitentiary in southern Iowa. Now, Jake and Adam Entz were my great-great-uncles. So a neat item that I have in my possession is a copy of a letter written from the prisoner, Del O'Dell, to my great-great-uncle Adam Entz. Why was he writing him a letter from prison, the man that he robbed and assaulted? Well, Mr. O'Dell was coming up for parole, and my great-great-uncle Adam Entz agreed to put in a kind word to the prison parole board on his behalf. So Del was writing him a letter thanking him. And when I would go out to my grandparents' farm as a child, yes, my grandfather's farm was the same 400-acre farm that was won in the bet at the beginning of all this. True story. My grandfather told me that story once, and it lit my head on fire. And so much so that we made a deal that if I behaved in the homily, Sunday morning mass, after church, on more than one occasion, we'd drive by the house after church if I behaved, and they'd tell me in precise detail what happened that night. So now I'd like to sing for you a song about my grandfather. He was a farmer and a Marine in World War II, was nearly mortally wounded on a beach a half a world away, and I loved riding in the tractor with him when I was a kid and soaking up that politically incorrect timbre of the retired farmers in the neighborhood. So this is called Kid on the Farm. All my days were big and new and charmed, and they were simple good times as a kid on the farm. My grandfather taught me the story of how we got here from Spookendike Hill. All it took was his crazy uncle winning at poker and saying 400 acres ought to fit the bill. Approaching from Washburn Road, the big silo was the first thing that you'd see. Soon the farm was in view, they were waving at you. It always felt like coming home to me. From the time I was 4, I was glued to his side. A love of the land will not be denied. And we'd hit the fields with lunch in a pail and bed linens in tow. For I'd sleep a while on the long days, or sit on his lap and he'd let me steer down the rows. Approaching from Washburn Road, the big silo was the first thing that you'd see. Soon the farm was in view, they were waving at you. It always felt like coming home to me. I was a young man setting out to make my rounds when he and my grandma left the farm and moved into town. My last night there I realized the tender age had come to an end. Well, we buried him this summer, but what a privilege for a boy to have known such a man among men. Approaching from Washburn Road, the big silo was the first thing that you'd see. Soon the farm was in view, they were waving at you. It always felt like coming home to me. Oh, it always felt like coming home to me. Thank you, folks. I'd like to play you a song I wrote now called The Job Seeker's Lament. This was had its origins back, remember the Great Recession, about 12, 13 years ago when everyone was losing, you couldn't get a job or anything, everyone was losing everything. Well, I was going through graduate school at DePaul University at the time to be a teacher. And when I got out, I did a lot of job seeking, but I couldn't get a job as a teacher, you know, because it was the Great Recession and all that good stuff. So after endless job seeking, I thought, well, you know, I held up my end of the bargain here because I got the degree, but I was evidently unhireable. So I wrote a letter to DePaul, and I said, I'd like my money back now. And it's, 13 years later? Haven't seen the check, but go out to the mailbox with a hopeful open mind every day. And so this is the Job Seeker's Lament. Hope you enjoy. Well, I like PB&J, but I'm getting awful tired of it. It's all I can afford to eat, 'cause I haven't gotten hired yet. Would you do like I'm sure your mother told you to, and give me a call back, please? I'm not a knuckle dragger, I'm not a mouth breather. I don't do pills and I don't huff ether. Just an Irishman with charm who would give a leg and arm for some health coverage. I know soon my luck will be turning, thanks to the fact that an ancestor slept with a German. So what, you may ask? Well, they got a reputation for being industrious, and hard work's in the congenital legacy I possess. Should get me out of this mess. I could spend a year in Europe and learn to be more couth. But I'd just end up doing dope if you want to know the truth. Oh, to be old, race run stories told, sitting in my underwear somewhere. I think I'll call DePaul and request 60 grand that I paid on an education for a job I didn't land. I'd take all the chips, I'd spend them in a fit, and they'd rescue me on a boardwalk somewhere. But I know soon my luck will be turning, and thanks to the fact that an ancestor slept with a German. So what, you may ask? Well, they got a reputation for being industrious, and hard work's in the congenital legacy I possess. Should get me out of this mess. And the band. Haha, old jokes are best, don't you think? There's no band back there. But, now I'm a rhythm guitar player, but let's give this a try. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't want a job anyway. I'm getting kinda used to writing songs and laying in bed all day. Yes, and I'll be checking for the refund I'm expecting from those scholastic Catholics. DePaul, soon my luck will be turning, and thanks to the fact that an ancestor slept with a German. So what, you may ask? Well, they got a reputation for being industrious, and hard work's in the congenital legacy I possess. Should get me out of this mess. Should get me out of this mess. Should get me out of this mess. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1. Thank you, folks. So I think I'll do one more song here in this set, and then we'll take a break, and we'll regroup, and we'll have polite conversation, and then we'll do it all over again with different songs. And if you are interested in a canvas bag that has my website address on it and a wave for a nautical theme, they're over on the piano, and I'm a very agreeable person to speak with, so you can come over and see me at the piano. I also have some cards over there. If you want to figure out how to contact me at any point for any reason, I would welcome that. So there's some business cards and some bags for sale. And that rate is negotiable, you know, 12, 15 bucks, whatever sounds fair. This next song that I'd like to play for you before we take a break for a few minutes and come back for part 2 is called Straits of Mackinac. And what it is I'm ripping off James Taylor's acoustic guitar style on this because James pioneered his own thing with that, and everything else is just an imitation. But I picked this guitar up, after a James Taylor concert when I was 5, because he's good family entertainment. And we were at the show out on the lawn, and I said, I want to meet him. That's what I want to do while we're here. 15,000 other people want to meet him too. But there was a flower vendor selling individual roses that people were buying, taking to the foot of the stage and setting on the foot of the stage in a gesture of appreciation for JT. So to appease me more than anything, my folks thought, yeah, we'll go get a flower and let the boy carry it up to the stage because he'll get close to his hero, and maybe that'll be good enough for tonight. So I'm carrying my rose, walking it down with my dad, who's in the back of the room here tonight. Yeah, and my sister, and I'm 5 years old, and I'm ready to set the rose on the stage. James finishes a song right as I get to the foot of the stage, takes his guitar off his shoulder, comes over to the foot of the stage, and lifts me up. This is a true story. I'm not making it up. And he said, hi. And I said, hi. And he asked me my name. He asked me how old I was, and he asked if I was enjoying the show. And this was at the now defunct Poplar Creek Amphitheater up there in Hoffman Estates. And my takeaways from 30 Seconds with JT in 1988 on the Never Die Young tour were that he was really bald and sweaty, and there was a sink visible on the wings of the stage, which did not seem very rock and roll to me. So, many, many years later, I wrote this song that I'm about to play for you called Straits of Mackinac, where went up there last summer and you got Lake Michigan on your left, Lake Huron on your right. We went up and saw the Shipwreck Museum in the UP, so that's Lake Superior, and you're looking at all that blue water and you're thinking the world's not such a bad place. So if you've got some wanderlust, if you're like me, the next thought you have is, so why would I ever go home? And so then what you do is you do the circle tour and you take the long way around on the way home. You go down the Wisconsin side and see all those coastal towns. So I hope you enjoy Straits of Mackinac here. I wrote this last summer after being up there. Round here the days are all just the same. Restlessness took me north to the shipping lanes of those lakes, of those big blue lakes, with the fortunes and widows they make. And I'm leaning on all the fine things I saw up on the Straits of Mackinac. Well, the farm is seated deep within my life, but its day is done, so I left and found a wife. Went to work there near Johnsburg town, but I stayed primed for moving around. And I'm leaning on all the fine things I saw up on the Straits of Mackinac. Coffee was on, I was telling tales with friends on a day that put us on the road again. Headed home the long way around, chalking up those fair coastal towns. Leaning on all the fine things I saw up on the Straits of Mackinac. Thank you, folks. See you in a few.
Okay, like Dave said, we'll see you in a few. Totally different second set, I hope. Dave, like he said, has got these bags over here on the piano. We've even turned on the merch light just for him. So stop on by, and we'll be back in like 10 minutes or so. Not sure. I have to give a big shout out to somebody named Sue who called me Bob because that's the standard. There's a couple here who always, the one lady always calls me Bob. And she said, Bob, nice haircut. So this one is for you, Sue. Next week, where did I put my thing here? Oh, there it is. Don't know my own strength. Next week we have a guy named Brad Cole who'll be coming in. Again, doors open 7:30ish and it starts at 8. Tomorrow there's a sing-along in this room from 2 to 4. You can bring an instrument, you can bring a voice, or you can just sit in the back of the room and listen. That's George Mattson, I believe, is leading that. And it's a lot of fun. Let's see, what else have I got here? Oh, coming up, the end of June is Grove Fest. The Two-Way Street Coffee House are one of the many, many sponsors of the Grove Fest. That's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, I believe, of June. And that'll be all over, but we'll still be here on Friday night. What else am I missing? I guess that's about it. I guess I'm just so happy that the lights are staying on. Like I said, all week I've been just gun shy. Like, what's going to happen now? Dave won't come. Dave will come and bring 6 people up on this little stage. The lights will go out. We might have. So all week long I've been saying to my wife, I don't know what could happen next. So, to those of you who are virtual, we are enjoying being in the coffee house. And, of course, you can either be here or you can live stream. And I guess on the camera, you've already figured that out. So without further ado, Dave, you want to do your thing one more time?
Sounds great.
All right.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. It was nice to chat with folks, and thank you for listening and being an attentive audience. I really appreciate it. So it was nice to chat with some people and drink some water, and here we go. This first song of the second set that I'd like to play for you is, I call this A Legend's True North, and this was inspired by Captain Gus McCrae of Lonesome Dove, Texas. And he had a great quote that the earth is mostly just a boneyard, but it sure is pretty in the sunlight. About sums it up for me. And we have that, and we do have the pointer stars up there in the dark night kind of showing us our true north. So I hope you enjoy this song. Trouble's been he never learned to retreat from the danger he saw. They talked of him when in ghost towns where there were lots of women but not much law. He says this earth is a pretty jewel in the sunlight, and the pointers show true north on the dark nights. Keep that with you, boy, you ought to be alright. Down there in the scree, the crazy woman creek, he came into my life. He said, I know you'll like me. A lonesome man can pretended that the sky is your wife. This earth is a pretty jewel in the sunlight, and the pointers show true north on the dark nights. You keep that with you, boy, you ought to be alright. Got out of the wind in a roadhouse barroom with bad piano sounds. Our past never crossed again. He fought it out at some hill, but no one knows if that laid him down. This earth is a pretty jewel in the sunlight, and the pointers show true north on the dark nights. Keep that with you, boy, you ought to be alright. You keep it with you, yeah, you ought to be alright. Thank you, folks. I'd like to play this next song as a bit of a talking piece, although I do sing the chorus. I couldn't really sing when I wrote it because this was on the occasion of my deviated septum surgery about 5 years ago. And so I went into the hospital, and they take all your clothes, and they put you in the paper gown, you know, and then you wait, and it's cold, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and your mood deteriorates. And then you hear, in my case, you hear them call over the intercom repeatedly, code gray. We got a code gray. And if you're a fairly curious person, or really mostly just a bored person at that point because you keep waiting, as was I, take out your phone and you look up, well, what, in the hospital parlance, what does code gray mean? Well, if you're not a medical person, I will tell you that code gray means that there's a combative person in the hospital with no obvious signs of a weapon, which is a step in the right direction. And so I learned about this, and then I thought, as I got colder and kept waiting and waiting, I thought, you know, after I wake up from my deviated septum surgery, I'm going to throw my own code gray. I'm going to rip off this paper gown. I'm going to run around naked, yelling, code gray, code gray. And that is the impetus for this beautiful, refined song I'm about to play for you. I had to have a little surgical procedure, some small fix of the nose. Checked into the hospital. They took my vitals. They took my clothes. And as the nurse slapped for a vein in which she would administer medicine, I heard a call over the PA regarding the hospital's excitable denizens. You can read a magazine to keep the boredom at bay, and as you wait, sometimes a thundering voice will say, attention hospital staff, we've got a code gray. Now cold and edging towards the surgeon's knife, my mood began to worsen. When I heard the call for code gray, I looked it up and saw to my delight it meant combative person. When I came out of surgery, I decided right there on the spot that I would throw a little temper tantrum. I wanted to give this code gray thing a shot. You can read a magazine to keep boredom at bay. And as you wait, sometimes a thundering voice will say, "Attention hospital staff, we've got a code gray." I was laughing to myself, thinking about pulling out tubes and throwing off my gown, and how I'd yell, "Code gray!" Well, they gave chase, and nakedly I ran around. Oh, but waking up, what I remember was a pleasant nurse's voice saying, "You're okay." She was just too kind. The world will have to wait on my combativeness for another day. I never wanted my act to be contrived, I must say. So recovering at home, I threw my pain meds away. Now I'm ready to show you all a real code gray, 'cause I'm in pain, have no pills, and I'm pissed. Thank you, folks. I like to play for you a song now. I used to be living in Chicago, and I'd hang out at the Old Town School of Folk Music down there, venerable institution. And you may be familiar with that institution, and you might be familiar with the likes of Steve Goodman and John Prine, a couple of proud alums from there. And many, many years ago, over 40 years ago, John Prine and Steve Goodman wrote the perfect country song. And that's what they called it, the perfect country song. And what they did is they took all the tropes that had ever been in any country song, then that they figured needed to be in every country song to make it a good country song, and they just threw the kitchen sink. And it's a funny, irreverent, oddball take and a great song. And so, you know, and those guys influenced me, and I look up to them and their songwriting. And then when I was at the Old Town School, I would play a lot of folk music and bluegrass music. And so I got the idea to write the perfect folk/bluegrass song. And to do that, I had to take inventory of what is in all these songs that we were playing down there. Well, in folk and bluegrass, you have travel songs, you have field hollers, you have drinking songs, you have labor songs, murder ballads, and nonsense, if you think of something like Froggy Went A-Courtin'. There's kind of a lot going on in there. Happy to report to you I've pulled it off. I've written the perfect folk bluegrass song, and this is called the Dewey Dewey Bean Ground. And what that is just a soybean field with dew on it in the morning. But all those things, travel, field holler, drinking song, labor song, murder ballad, and nonsense are all in this tune that I've penned. So I hope you enjoy it. Shot her fatally, oh little darling, better come with me. Got to dry my hands off here. Sliding around, getting sweaty. So this is a song, thank you folks. This next song here is, if anyone ever needed a folk song written for them and about them, it was this guy. And the story on this thing is I get my enthusiasm for baseball from my dad, and he got it from his dad. And when my dad was a little kid playing catch in the backyard with my grandfather, his dad, my grandfather would say, Calvin Coolidge, Julius Caesar, Tuskahoma McGlish, Mikey. He'd wrap around this name. And my dad just thought, well, my old man's nuts. Turns out he was, you know. But it was a real name of a real ball player in the major leagues. And this guy's story was just so rich. He was ambidextrous. He could throw left or right-handed, and he was a pitcher. And his real given name was Calvin Coolidge Julius Caesar Tuskahoma McGlish. And he left the game in the 40s and fought in World War II, as some players did in those days. He was pretty much a journeyman for most of his career, but he pitched in one All-Star game and was a 20-game winner one year. And he said that his father, Cal McGlish's father, named him, and that his mother had named the previous 6 children that they had, that the mother and father had, and that she gave her husband, Cal's father, permission to name him, and so he had to make up for lost time, and that's why he gave him all these names. And I just thought, this guy needs a folk song. So here it is, Cal McGlish. John was a brawny man, Lula was a cute little dish. The 7th-born child was named Calvin Coolidge Julius Caesar Tuskahoma McGlish. He was born in Caddo County in a dugout with a dirt floor. His dad gave him 2 names and then he gave him 3 more. You see, Lula alone had done the naming of all their daughters and sons. John figured he had to play catch-up when given permission to name the 7th one. So with a nod to history and home, spoke his wish, baby boy shall be Calvin Coolidge Julius Caesar Tuskahoma McGlish. And Cal was a strong boy, kind eyes and a shock of black hair. He loved going to the park to watch the baseball sail through the air. And a couple of years on down the line, he took to swinging the lumber. He brought a lot of passion to the play, but he never could put up the numbers. But left or right-handed, he could get the ball over the dish. The secret weapon, the ambidextrous Calvin Coolidge Julius Caesar Tuskahoma McGlish. And our boy made the show. He was in the bigs at the age of 18. He went and fought the war, came home and played for a few different teams. And he notched 20 wins one year, even pitched in the All-Star game. Still when you boil it all down, the most notable thing is his name. And it rolls right off the tongue. Sing along if you wish. It's the one and only, there's only one. Calvin Coolidge, Julius Caesar, Tuskahoma McGlish. That's good, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Calvin Coolidge, Tuskahoma McGlish. And with all the vowels and consonants and people and things to choose from, isn't it just like us during his playing days? His nickname was Bus. And that's a true story. And thank you for singing along with me there, folks. Sounding wonderful. Thanks for your applause as well. I'd like to play this other song here. This next song I'm about to do for you is a story of a sailing ship captain in the 16th century. Captain Joseph Bannister, he sailed for the Royal Crown, the British Navy. And what he would do is he would go into the New World to the Caribbean and bring sugar back from the plantations that was produced. They produced sugar, down in the Caribbean, and he'd bring it back to England. And this was kind of at the height of piracy. And Bannister got a look at this, and he thought, hell, I'm going to ditch my day job and do this. I want to be a pirate. It looked like they were having a lot of fun and making a lot of money. So he actually stole his own ship from the British Navy that was appropriately called the Golden Fleece. And he started engaging in piracy in the Caribbean waters. Well, he was found out. He was taken onto dry land and imprisoned, but he was pesky and resourceful, and Bannister broke out. And then he assembled his newly converted pirate crew back on the water's edge, and he stole the ship again, the Golden Fleece, and he went back to pirating in the Caribbean for like 5 years and made a ton of money, had a lot of fun. And then he actually engaged in battle, a naval battle, with the Royal Navy, the British Navy, and chased them off. This is the strongest, naval force in the world at the time, and Bannister bested them with a ragtag crew of pirates on his stolen boat. And they retreated, but then it became personal because he'd escaped once, and then he beat the British Navy in battle. So 5 years later, when they finally caught up with him, the Brits found him in South America on the Mosquito Coast down there, and they took him aboard a ship on open water, and they hanged him right there on the spot because they didn't want to bring him ashore again and have him escape for a third time. Anyway, so this is his song. This is Captain Joseph Bannister. I got this story from a book. I can't even remember what it's called right now, but Robert Kurson, who's an adventure writer, wrote this book. So I hope you enjoy. Captain Joseph Bannister sailed into the new world, where the swashbucklers they did lurk, and the Caribbean currents swirl. He sees the Queen running sweet sugar free, chucked it all to capture those Spanish pieces of me. Yo ho ho, you can't have fun if you're not out on the run. And just remember, merry life is a short one. Upon his ship Golden Fleece, he took a pirate stand. He gathered a crew of raiders, boy. Queen of England be damned. He was caught and tried, guaranteed to hang, but he escaped to the water and assembled the old gang. Yo ho ho, you can't have fun if you're not out on the run. And just remember, merry life is a short one. He plundered the Caribbean sets up a soul. That's why Joe threw his own life away. But down on the Mosquito Coast, the Brits found their man. They hanged him at sea, for he was too elusive on dry land. Yo ho ho, you can't have fun if you're not out on the run. And just remember, merry life is a short one. Yo ho ho, you can't have fun if you're not out on the run. And just remember, merry life is a short one. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Another little story here before this next song. A few years ago, I like the stories. I came up with, listening to guys like John Prine and Stevie Goodman, and there's an old live Jimmy Buffett record, and, Willis Allen Ramsey and all those guys just had these wonderful, wonderful stories. I think that just complements acoustic music so well. But this next story that I'd like to tell you about is a few years ago, we got on an airplane, some of us, and we went down to this conference. And, so this was down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we go to this conference, and they have daily seminars, and, people that I'm down there with are going to the daily seminars, and I'm mostly skipping them, sleeping in late and stuff, And but anyway, then on the third night down there, there's going to be this event at a place known as a restaurant where everything is free. And I love free shit, man, So, bam, I'm there. So they're going to have, we get together and we walk out to this thing. We go in the restaurant, and there's, beer for the classic drunks, and there's wine for the classy drunks, and there's tacos for everyone, and it's all free. And in a significant twist, there's Jesus there. Now, I'm not talking and I don't mean to cast aspersions on anyone's, but I'm not talking about the OG Jesus, is how the kids call it, OG, original gangster. It's not like that, like the Jesus from Divinity 2,000 years ago. I'm talking about a guy from Texas named Kevin with shaggy hair and beard, and he's got the mystical smile, and he's throwing the hippie vibe around, And so we're sitting there in the restaurant, and the conversation's flowing and merriment abounds, and I look across the restaurant, and I see this guy, this Kevin fella, who appears to look like Jesus. And I had seen him earlier that day in the convention hall at the conference. And when I saw him earlier that day in the convention hall at the conference, I thought, of all the thousands of people who are here, this is the guy who's most likely to start a religious cult. And so I'm relaying this information to my esteemed friends and colleagues as we sit there and eat our free tacos and people are having their free drinks. No sooner had I finished relaying that hypothesis than the very man himself starts sauntering over to our table. And he's going to talk to us. And my Irish face gets beat red, I'm thinking, this is not going to be pretty. And so he comes over, and it's just a lot of whitewashed, fatuous platitudes, shall we say. Let's just leave it at that for tonight, because I really, I've never met you guys. I don't know what our bar is, what our threshold is, okay? So we'll just leave it at sort of a polite right there. And, but I just say that I felt like he earned this song that I wrote about him on the vomit bag during the plane ride home. I think everyone's met a guy like this. I think you'll be able to relate. This is Texas Jesus. You can be driving across Texas as the sun comes up, and still be driving across Texas as the sun goes down. Well, this is what he told me in Albuquerque, but an expert's just a guy from out of town. He's got the anno domini beard, his hair's just a little long. And this might sound a little weird, but I'll be damned if I am wrong. That the guy from Texas, whose name is Kevin's got a savior's complex and a plan to get to heaven. Oh, I've been alive a while, and I've come to see people live to be taken by something that'll seize us. So look out, beware, 'cause with his counterfeit charm, here comes Texas Jesus. It's a lovable song, it's good-natured. Now, I'm not a fancy fella, no, I make no bones about it. But I can keep the beat steady as we change places and speeds. So after taking it in at a meal, I told friends, one day there'll be a cult this guy leads. And then Texas Jesus came to me on the last bite of my taco shell. I said, no false prophet's gonna screw me, but Tex, maybe I'll see you in hell. And the guy from Texas, whose name is Kevin's got a savior's complex and a plan to get to heaven. Oh, I've been alive a while, and I've come to see people live to be taken by something that'll seize us. So look out, beware, 'cause with his counterfeit charm, here comes Texas Jesus. Take one, Dave. Okay. My days and nights unfold and all my money gets spent. And I've gone a long way from Texas, Jesus' taco sermon on the mount. Well, in the paper today, all the headlines say Tex was brought in on multiple counts. He put a price tag up on heaven and sold tickets to the next life. I'm not sad to say goodbye to Texas Kevin, but maybe he'll be missed by some of his wives. Gotta make him a polygamist, I'm sorry, but I see the smiles and I know I'm okay. And the guy from Texas, whose name is Kevin's got a savior's complex, a plan to get to heaven. Oh, I've been alive a while, and I've come to see people live to be taken by something that'll seize us. Tell me now, have you been had by his counterfeit charm? There goes Texas Jesus. Thank you, folks. Thank you for enduring that. It's a good song, though. I mean, you know, it is. I like that song. It's good. Anyway, this next song here, we'll switch gears entirely. And this is a sort of a Midwestern portrait in fall. It's like a portrait of a landscape in fall. And there's also a river is central to this song, so there must be a spiritual element to it with that river in it. And I think it's knowing of trouble but hopeful too. And so I wrote this late in the fall into the winter. This is called Stomp the Prairie is what this is called. Sweaty. Here we go. turned away from home. Got bright colors down the line, coming on to harvest time. Stomp the prairie and I move from land to land. The gentle sun shining on this place. I'm gone but I'm weary and I'm holding on as strong as I can. Trying to open up to a little more grace. Shadows cross down over that water as the sun's sinking low. Walking along with one righteous daughter, talking of the trouble we both know. I've been down a couple of times, sizing the hill I must climb. Stomp the prairie and I move from land to land. Gentle sun shining on this place. I'm gone but I'm weary and I'm holding on as strong as I can. Trying to open up to a little more grace. I'm made of all that I remember, and the good and bad wax vivid in temper. Sure as these seasons keep turning on, oh, I will live through the past with just more ghosts of all that's gone. Though I'll leave for them my questions unasked. So let the river roll and bend, and I'll hold you a few close friends. Stomp the prairie and I move from land to land. Gentle sun shining on this place. I'm gone but I'm weary and I'm holding on as strong as I can. Trying to open up to a little more grace. Just trying to open up to a little more grace. Thank you, folks. Let's try this one. This is called No Hard Feelings. Here, this is you call this a musical postcard to my first ex-wife. No, there's only one of them, right? But yeah, we'll try this one out. It's a very good-natured, like a postcard. It's good-natured. No hard feeling, think I'll stay here a while. 'Cause there's scenery, I've got my joys, and I can't help but smile. Looking back on the years and miles, oh, there's no hard feeling, think I'll stay here a while. got some new pastimes in the yellow house downtown. See now, I get up early just to write my own life down. And when the blue skies break, I go walking around. Got some new pastimes in the yellow house downtown. Old notions pass, and your good times will return. Well, I've been wrong so often, but this is one thing I've learned. While some moments are bound to be hard-earned, old notions pass, and your good times will return. This living happens quick, yes, but I'm awake. I love my companions and the willing hearts of the new friends that I make. There's a chance on one I've gotta take. This living happens quick, yes, but I'm awake. No hard feelings, think I'll stay here a while. 'Cause there's scenery, I've got my joy, I can't help but smile. Looking ahead to the years and miles. Oh, there's no hard feelings, think I'll stay here a while. Think I'll stay here a while. Think I'll stay here a while. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening and being here and spending your, what is today, Friday? I think it's Friday. Friday evening with me. It's been a pleasure to play for you. So we'll do one more here and call it good at that. So. Let me just make some noise over here. I wanted to write a song about Jesse James that actually told the truth about Jesse James. Because there's a lot of folk songs, and while I respect the creative license of folk music to bend the truth and tell tall tales, because I do some of that, none of those folk songs about him are actually accurate. So I was going to set the record straight. So this is a song about that. From 1869 to 1881, the outlaw known as Jesse James ran from home to Virginia, stealing from coaches, banks, and trains. His dad daddy was a pastor, gone west in search of gold. Left Jesse running the farm at 15 years old. Now Jesse's brother Frank, well, he bushwhacked with the rebels down Little Dixie Way. The home guard sent a message at the James's farm when they roughed up young Jesse one day. So Jesse joined with Frank and filled his gun with lead. They found those bullies, boy, and Jesse shot 'em dead. Jesse James was a bad man, that's no lie, but time loves a hero by and by. They slaughtered at Centralia, that concluded Jesse's part in the conflict on the homeland. He said he took to stealing 'cause the rebels stood no chance as an honest man. But scores of his comrades made it without crime, so I'll bet Jesse plundered just to have a good time. Jesse James was a bad man, that's no lie, but time loves a hero by and by. Now for a cash reward, Robert Ford pulled the trigger. Jesse James fell to the floor. But that bullet left the gun in Jesse's youth while living the fierceness of a civil war. He reflected the violence he saw as a lad, live on in folk tales, both light and sad. Jesse James was a bad man, that's no lie, but time loves a hero by and by. Oh, time loves a hero by and by. Thank you. Thank you, folks.
I warned him about this. I warned him about this, and you unplugged. Nobody gets out of the coffee house without an encore. So, Dave,
Yes, sir.
do you have one more song? All right, well, thanks everybody for coming while he puts his brain together here. Like I say, next week we have a guy named Brad Cole, same stage, 1 week later. And just to let everybody know, we're always in search of some new volunteers, because some of us more experienced volunteers sure could use a night off. So if you're at all interested, you can see me after the show. And with that, take it away, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. It sure has been nice to play for you tonight, so thank you for listening and for applauding and for being here with me and for talking to me at halftime. And if you want any of my wares that I'm peddling over there, you just come by and see me after the show. Otherwise, until next time, thank you very much. I think I'll close out with this. This is another sketch. Actually, this takes place on C again, another captain, but our hero, anti-hero, whatever you would call him in this one, is 20th century, late 20th century guy. And he lives a colorful life. Then he starts losing his mind. So he goes out on the boat with pills and whiskey, and that's kind of it for him. So with that cheery story, here's this song. Captain Out with a Bang. I just wanted to do it because I haven't played this song for a very long time now. So close out the show, sometimes it's nice to revisit old friends like that. The wharf smelled candy floss and tobacco. Seeking games there, he was hungry, young, and wacko. One summer night he liberated a crooked councilman's car. And he took a leggy blonde out to a dive raw bar. But that baby kisser showed up with his gang. Captain Out with a bang. Now the councilman failed to pay his income tax. So Cap's got the car, that blonde's in front and their baby's in the back. They found a cottage by the ocean, bought some fishing boats. They said he ran them hard, but he kept the fleet afloat. Then one day on the Atlantic, looking for bluefish, he caught a storm off Tuckernuck Island, fisherman's death wish. That Boston whaler started rolling, she flipped on the third wave, upside down on a sandbar, with just his life to save. Well, he tied on to the anchor and pulled his knife. On the hull he etched a goodbye to his son and his wife. When a maritime defiant appeared, piloted by his old man, he said, "You better jump in, son. Supper's getting cold on the mainland." Plucked from the sea, spared from a sad refrain. Captain Out with a bang. He went on to go fishing with crooks and joes and presidents. He lived comfortably as a member of the Maritime's eyeball residence. He never had any use for wasting time, so he knew what to do when he started losing his mind. Fueled up on pills and whiskey, he headed out on the boat. They found it at Eel Point and read his simple note. Boys, the fat lady sang, Captain Out with a bang. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Good evening.